Hey everyone. So today we're going to be creating an admin page that handles everything else we need to do with tags. We are going to be able to create new tags, read existing tags, update existing tags, and delete existing tags. So we're making a CRUD page, basically. And it's going to look very simple for the user. But there are some cool tricks we're going to use in order to create that simplicity and get it all in one page. So let's take a look at the page we're creating today. As you can see, we have our list of tags. So this is all of the tags we've created so far. Then we can create new tags. And we hit Enter or Tab, or just click anywhere else, and it'll save. And it'll show us the number of videos that they're connected to. If we want to edit a tag, then we can just click on it or hit the edit button. And of course, all of that's saving. Then if we accidentally create a tag we don't want, we of course can delete it. So those are our goals for today. We're going to separate it out into 4 sections: read, then update, and then destroy, and finally create. Let's get started. First, we're going to need to create the page that the tags will live on. So we'll go to our router, and under the admin route, we'll create a new one. In here, we'll definitely want to be able to access our tags, so we will use map state and get the tags. Then we'll want to go ahead and loop through all of those tags. Let's go ahead and test to make sure that our data is flowing correctly. So we'll go to admin/tags, and the data is coming in correctly, but it doesn't look very good, and there's no way for a regular user to get to it. We'll solve that second problem first. So we will go into the admin page, and we'll just add a tab here and make it go to tags. Oh, fantastic. And now we'll go ahead and make our tags list look more like the video list. So here we'll find the admin video list, and we'll see that we have a class called FlexTable that's making it look really good. So let's go ahead and grab all the styling for that. At some point, we may want to create a FlexTable row component, but for now, we are going to just copy and paste. As a matter of fact, once the site's up, then abstracting this to a component may be a good reason to learn slots in components. Anyway, so each of these will have the FlexTable class. And so we'll see that these are already looking a lot better. So we're going to create 3 separate divs within here. So the first one will be for the tag name. The second one will be for the number of videos. And then the third will be for actions. So we'll just leave a blank V button in there to represent that. This is looking pretty good. We'll also probably want labels, especially for this one, since just having a 5 there doesn't tell us much. So we will just, for each of these, this will say name, this will say number of videos, and this last one, maybe we don't have to label it. And we'll have to apply this FlexTable class. All right, that's looking pretty good. the spacing is a little bit off. I think that can be fixed by making this V button extra small. Ah, there we go, much better. So we're just about done with the read section of this. The only thing we may want to change is, so this number of videos, we can make it clickable and take it to that tags view page. So if you want to see the videos that are connected. To do that, we'll just add the router link. And you've seen all of this before. All right, double checking that it's working, and yep, there we go. So we're done with reading. Now let's go and make it so we can edit the names of these tags. So in this section, we're going to implement inline editing for each of these. We want to be able to click a button and it opens the editing, or just click the name and it opens the edit. And then when we click elsewhere or hit tab or enter, then we want the editing to close and the changes to be saved. Let's look at how we can do that. So first, we're going to have two states here now. One will be the showing state, and the other will be the editing state. How can we differentiate between those states? Well, if we were in a component where there was just one tag, then we could have something like isEditing and set that to a Boolean. The default would be false. But in this case, there are lots of tags, and we don't want to have them all editing at once. So what we can do is have tag editing ID, and by default, it'll just be a null string. And then we can say, so we'll have a div, and we'll use vif, and if the tag editing ID is equal to tag.id, then we'll show the editing. But if it's not, then we'll show the tag name. And let's go ahead and test this out by returning tag editing ID of 2. And we'll see here that this has been erased because we didn't actually put anything in here. All right, excellent. So it appears that it's working. Let's go ahead and make it so that clicking changes the tag editing ID. So we will use click, and we will set to editing and feed in the tag. And now we'll have to make a method called set to editing. We'll take in the tag, and then we'll just set tag editing ID equal to the tag's ID. Excellent. Now let's make this so that it's actually editing something. So we'll use vTextField, and we'll set the vModel there to tag.name. All right, cool. This is what it looks like. And we click, and it is putting that text field there. However, we have to click again in order to start editing. Let's see if we can automatically set the focus correctly. So in tag editing, we're going to want to get our document, and we're going to want to get element by ID. And then we'll call focus. However, we're going to have to get an ID on here. So let's go ahead and add that. And we'll call it tag edit, and then we'll give the ID of the tag. All right, and we'll just copy this. All right, and let's see if that works. So we click, and it is not working. We cannot read the property focus of null. So what's happening is that we're setting the tag editing ID, and then we're running this, which is fine, except Vue hasn't had time to actually make the changes in the template. So what we're going to do is we're going to call setTimeout, and then we're just going to wait just 1 millisecond, and then we're going to run that. And now you can see it's working. It's automatically focusing. So now we've got the edit field working correctly, at least in terms of displaying it. But there's some more behaviors we'll want. The first of those is that when we hit Tab or Enter, or just click outside of it, we'll want it to return to a normal thing instead of the edit field. Let's get that working. We're going to be doing this through events. And so we've used the click event before, and we're also going to now do the blur event. And so blur is when the text field loses focus. So we're going to do save tag, or we'll say update tag name, and we'll feed in the tag. And then we will have to, just like the click, define this method. And most of this work is going to be done in our store. But actually, let's not get carried away yet. What we're wanting to do right now is just make it so it's no longer focused. So we could find it and unfocus it, but it's much easier to just set the tag editing ID to an empty string again. So now, there we go. We'll also want to call this whenever the user hits enter. And so for that, we'll call keyDown and .enter. And you can call keyDown with any key, and there are several that have shortcuts such as enter. I believe some of them are space, up, down, left, right, that sort of thing. The common navigation ones. Yeah, so here we go. Here are the common ones, and then you can provide the keycode number for all the others. We'll test whether that's working real quick. And I know you couldn't see me hit the enter key, but that's what I did, and it worked. All right, now let's do the actual meat of this, where we are saving the tag name. All of this has just been UI so far. Now we're actually going to change the data. So we go to our store, and we go to our actions, and say update tag name. We'll be getting the tag. And what we'll be doing is we'll be doing a commit, and we'll also be doing an API call. And so our API call will be a put, and it will be to tags / the tag ID. And we'll be feeding in the name, which is that. Though I guess we could just put in the entire tag, since that includes the name. All right, so now let's do the mutation. We will feed in the tag, and then our mutations, we will create this. And here we are going to get the tag. This is not the most elegant name, but oh well. And we will find the tag in the state. So tags.find. And then tag.update.name will be equal to tag.name. So now we'll go ahead and make a change and hit enter. And we will reload the page and see that the change stuck. We can also test something by changing it, and we'll be testing that the commit works, so we won't reload. And yep, the change stuck there. And let's go ahead and change that back. Then our final act in this section will be to change this Do Something button to an Edit button. And that'll be fairly easy because we already have all of the building blocks we need. So we'll just be calling set to editing when it's clicked. And change this to edit. Excellent. So that was probably the most complex of the 4 operations we're going to be doing today. But as you can see, the UI is really nice, and we learned some cool tricks like key down, and so I think it was worth it. All right, now let's move on to deletion. So deletion is actually pretty easy. We'll copy this button and we'll change the text to delete. And we'll just call the delete tag method, which we will have to create. And then because deletion is something that is hard to undo, especially if there are already videos assigned to it, we'll want to confirm it. So we will open up a confirm box and ask them, are you sure you want to delete tag name? It is connected to this many videos. So then this will come back as either a true or a false. They click yes, it's true. So in that case, we will dispatch to the store. In the store, we're going to go to our actions, and we are going to create the delete tag action. It'll take in a tag, and this will call out to our API, and we will be calling delete to tags/tag ID, and then we'll be committing delete tag. Then we'll go ahead and scroll up to our mutations, and yes, I'm aware that this is getting pretty unwieldy. I think our next video is going to be putting this into modules. All right, so back to the thing at hand. We will set the state.tags equal to the current state.tags, but we're going to filter them so they are not the same as that tag. Let's test this out. We hit delete. It's connected to 0 videos. Hit delete and the commit worked, and we reload, and it looks like it worked correctly. It's saved to the server. If we hit delete there, we see that it is connected to 8 videos, so that's working correctly. And we hit cancel, of course. And it disappeared anyways. Okay, so it turns out, instead of testing on whether confirm returned true or false in the confirmed variable, I just checked whether confirm was a thing. It's always a thing. Okay, let's try this again. All right, we will delete this. We'll hit cancel. Good, and it's staying there. All right, so we can look at our tags, we can edit our tags, and we can delete our tags. Now we're going to want to be able to add a tag. But before we do that, let's go ahead and fix up a couple things. The first is that these buttons are too squished together. And so in our actions, we have padding right, but the issue is that we never actually applied that class. So we do that and reload, and now we have padding to the right, but we don't actually want padding. We want a margin. Before it was buttons, we couldn't tell the difference. It looked the same on text or padding. And maybe we want only 10 pixels. All right, that looks good. And the next thing is that we are still automatically selecting the tag with ID of 2. So let's go ahead and do that. So nothing is selected by default. All right, with that cleanup taken care of, let's go ahead and figure out how to add tags. All right, so we want to be able to add a new tag. And we'll go ahead and put this below all of our rows, so it's at the bottom. And then we will create a div that has a V button in it, and we'll just call it add tag. When you click this button, we will call to a method, and we'll call it add tag is not actually correct in terms of the action we're doing. It's more starting a new tag. All right, so we will go to our method, and we'll start a new tag. And the first thing we'll do, so we'll have to go here and make sure that this is only showing. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this button disappear, and we are going to have a text box, a vText field appear where they can input the tag. So if we are not is editing new tag, and so this can just be a true or false. We'll start off as false. So if they're not editing the new tag, then they'll show the tag button. Otherwise, we will be editing. So let's go ahead and set this to true in here. So we hit add tag and we switch to editing mode. Now let's make that editing mode actually work. So we will add a vText field, and the vModel will be a new tag name, which we will put down here. And by default, it will be blank, an empty string. And that's probably enough to start with. We hit add tag, and there we go. There's our entire new one. We can start typing. Good. And so for this workflow, there's going to be a lot of similarities to how it was when we were editing stuff. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and copy a lot of that. So we will have an ID, and then we'll have an action we'll call on blur and on keydown.enter. So we've got that, and the ID will be new tag name. And the blur will be create tag. And for keydown.enter. And neither of these will have a tag fed in because there's only ever going to be one new tag name at a time. So all right, there are two things we'll want to do. So just like we did with the editing field, we'll want to make it so that when we start the new tag, this text field is automatically in focus. So once again, we will go ahead and use this set timeout. And the only difference is the ID that we're feeding it. So we'll show that this works. It's automatically focused there. Good. Next, we will go ahead and create our create tag method. So here we will go ahead and we will not need an argument once again. What we'll do is we will call out to the store and we will dispatch. Well, we actually already have a method in our store that will take a name and create an entirely new tag from it. And we called that create tag. So let's just dispatch that. And our name will be this dot new tag name. Then we'll want to clear new tag name. So next time we hit the add tag button, it will be blank and not have our previous one. And we'll also want to set is editing new tag to false. So it goes back to being the add button. So that's a UI thing. You may disagree with that choice. That's fine. Just keeping a perpetual thing could also work. So anyways, let's try this. So we'll add view router as a tag, and we hit enter, and it's added view router and a second one. Okay, so it looks like it called post twice. First time with the name view router, second time with an empty string as the name. So what I think happened was, so what we did, it blurred it, and it was keydown.enter. So, oops, I pointed at the wrong one. So here and here. And we didn't see it before because here, updating it with the correct name twice, that's fine. The fancy word for that is idempotent. But here, creating a new tag twice creates two new tags. So I'm not entirely sure how to keep this from running twice while keeping both the keydown.enter and the blur. But what we can do is make sure that it's not dispatched to store twice. So if this dot new tag name is equal to a blank string, we should say if the length is greater than 0. That actually does what we want. Then all right, so we are only dispatching if there's an actual new tag name there. And then we'll go ahead and always set the editing to false afterwards. So let's try this again. We will add a new tag, and good, it's only added one. Now, as a bonus, if we just hit tab without typing anything, it will exit out. So there you have it. We built an entire set of CRUD actions for our tags, all in one nice compact screen. Let's review what we did. So first, to get our read action in, our index, we created a new route, admin tag list. We linked to it in our admin page. And then we went and we got our tags and we looped through all of them. And we used the flex table that we got from the videos page. In this section, we didn't really learn anything new, just reusing stuff we'd learned before. Then, in our edit and update, so we used our VIF and VElse in order to create something that when we click on it, we call set to editing, and what that did was it changed the tag editing ID. And so if the tag editing ID was equal to that current tag's ID, then it would show the vText field instead of the tag's name in plain text. And so each of those is assigned an ID based on the tag's ID. And we called document.getElementById to grab that and to bring it into focus. And because it takes a little while for this turning the tag editing ID and for that to actually turn into this vText field appearing, we had to call a set timeout. And we only had to call it for 1 millisecond, so it's not long. It's just saying, all right, do your cycle, and then on the next cycle, we'll do that. Anyways, so we learned about the blur and the key down events. And so key down, it has a lot of shortcuts like enter, or you could just put in the key code like 13. And those, of course, call to update tag name. And that will set the tag editing ID to blank. That will basically turn it into the old just displaying the text. And it'll also dispatch to the store. And what we're seeing in the store here is nothing new, really. All right, then when we're deleting the tag, we will have our button. We click it, it calls to this method, and we use our confirm box, dispatch to the store, and nothing new here. Call the API and then commit a mutation. And then when adding tags, we were able to reuse a lot of the concepts that we learned when editing / updating the tags. So we use this VIF and VElse combo here, where we click one of them and it turns it into the other. And in this case, we've also copied the ID trick, where we give it an ID and then we call a set timeout and then focus based on that ID. Then we have blur and key down once again in order to create a new tag. And here we have a new trick. So it turns out that we were calling create tag twice, and we were calling the one for editing and updating twice as well, but it didn't matter because you can update the name to something as many times as you want. It'll be that name. But here it was creating 2 new tags. So what we did was the first time it called it, it would set the new tag name to blank. And then it will check what the new tag name is. And if it's blank, its length is 0. And so the second time it'll go through, this will be false, and so this will not happen. And we're calling out here to the create tag action that we already did in the last, when we were doing creating new tags with Vuetify's combo box. And there we go. That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe below. And join me next time when we're going to take our store, which is getting very long, and put it into modules. I will see you then.